Day 4 of my video blog challenge is favorite books. And I don't want to ramble on like yesterday with what I did with my favorite bands because I'm sure that gets really boring. But I really feel strongly connected to books as well as bands because I want to be a writer when I grow up, so I kind of have to like reading. If you don't like reading and you want to be a writer, it doesn't really work. You can't write your best if you don't read your best. That makes sense. So, I have 3 bookshelves, and so I just took books off of my one bookshelf of read books. Like, I have my top 2 shelves that, the very top shelf are like favorite books ever, and then the next shelf are like next favorite books ever, and then the rest are just books I've read. My favorite book ever, and I can't think of any book that will ever surpass this, but I really love this book, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. This book changed my life and my writing style so much. It's ridiculous. I think it's the only book that has made me cry. I sat here bawling while I was reading it. And my number 1 favorite fictional character ever is in this book, Gustus Waters. He's just so brilliantly well written, and it's just, I don't know how John Green does it. I love all of John Green's books. I also have all I lent some of my books out yesterday, so I don't have all of them here. I have all of John Green's books: Paper Towns, Looking for Alaska, An Abundance of Catherines, and his co-authored one with David Levithan of Will Grayson, Will Grayson. First one I read was Will Grayson, Will Grayson, and the second one was The Fault in Our Stars. But all of his books are they're just really well thought of, and they're so real, and I don't sit there thinking, here we go, another cliche. It makes me feel really human reading them. And he really affected my writing style. I was talking to my friend Candlin about this and how she and I both feel more comfortable just having like dialogue scenes where it's just dialogue back and forth because John Green uses that. And he just kind of breaks the bounds on some traditional writing styles, and I really love it. My second favorite book ever, I don't have it with me because it's one that I lent out yesterday, is Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist by Rachel Cohen and David Levithan. That book has a lot of really deep, profound like thoughts to it. It's the only book I've ever highlighted and underlined and dog-eared because I can't get over some of those lines. They're just they just get to me, and I just wish I could write like that. The first time I heard of the book, I actually saw the movie first, and I really liked the movie, but I love the book so much more. Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist opened me to the realm of writing and just not caring about language. Like, actually writing how people talk. Because I have one novel from, like, I think 10th grade that I was writing. And this character in it is so angry, and he's so upset that he's, like, bashing a chair against the wall. And he's like, oh my goodness, I freaking hate your crap. And it's like, that's not how characters would talk. This guy's like this big, mean, tough guy. He wouldn't say, oh my goodness, I freaking hate your crap. He would say, oh my god, I fucking hate your shit. And David and Rachel Cohen in this co-authored book opened me up to the idea that that's okay. People talk like that. I talk like that. Why can't my characters talk like that if that's how they feel? They have to show their emotions somehow. They can't just be this same old non-swearing, non-open blob wandering around. And I really I really appreciate that book for opening my eyes up to writing more. They also co-authored this book, Dash and Lily's Book of Dares, and it's also really good. It definitely does not swear as much as Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. It's also really cute. It's like someone finds a journal in a bookstore that's already been written in, and asking the person who finds it to write them back. And so these two people meet and become friends, and it's really cute. It's really awesome. I really like it. I really like a lot of young adult fiction, and there's a whole plethora of books that I've read, and I just love them. One, obviously, I'm one of those die-hard Harry Potter fans. Everyone has to have a little bit of Harry Potter in them somehow, or else they're muggles. I love Harry Potter. I've reread Harry Potter a couple times. I'm really strongly considering getting a Harry Potter tattoo because I love Harry Potter so much. And J.K. Rowling is a brilliant writer. I love her a lot, and I love her writing style. And for a long time, she was one of the only authors. I felt like I had to add J.K. Rowling into my list of favorite authors. Like, oh yeah, I like John Green, and I like David Levithan, and I like Heather Brewer. Oh, and J.K. Rowling. I felt like that was almost a sin if I didn't involve J.K. Rowling. But the beauty about having things that you like, you don't have. Even though everyone loves Harry Potter, people reference J.K. Rowling as our queen, and she's amazing. She's a beautiful woman, and she's written this series of books that will last a long, long time. But I don't necessarily want to write like her, and that's not a bad thing. I love reading her, but I'm not a fantasy writer. But I really love what she's done with Harry Potter and how amazing it is. I'm also reading this series right now, The City of Bones. This is the first of 6, and it's also a fantasy fiction kind of one about these shadow hunters who hunt demons. And the first 3 books were really great, and then she came out with 2 more, and she's writing the 6th, and I cannot wait for the 6th. I can't wait. I have to know what happens to all the characters. I never thought I would become attached to these characters, but I have, in ways that are not healthy. All of these characters in all of my books, like, just get attached to them in unhealthy ways. And while the Mortal Instruments series with The City of Bones is really good, I really like her Infernal Devices series trilogy. It starts with Clockwork Angel and then Clockwork Prince and Clockwork Princess, which I'm currently reading. And my second favorite fictional character of all time is in this series. It's based about like 3 or 4 generations before the Mortal Instruments. So they're about, the shadow hunters hunting demons. And you see a lot of the same like last names and stuff, and it's kind of interesting to see how people connect. And it's really, I don't know why I like this series more. There's just something about it. Maybe it's just because James Carstairs is number 2 favorite fictional character of all time. I'm not sure. I really like it. I suggest reading them if you like a little bit of adventure and something a little refreshing to read. They have, all the classic stuff in there too. The werewolves and the vampires and all that fun stuff, but they're different. They still kind of stick to the classics, unlike Twilight, but they also branch out a little bit differently. And I really like it. I think it's really interesting, really well done. Cassandra Clare has really made a name for herself with them. And I can't wait to read more of her stuff. There's one more book to come out. The last book. Can't wait for it. Since we're on the track of kind of fantasy ones, I also really fell in love with these books a couple years ago from Heather Brewer. It's called 8th Grade Bites. I really liked them. They were really different for vampire books. This kid is going to school. No one knows he's a vampire except for his aunt. She works at the hospital, so she brings him home, blood, and it's all great. She makes him in a capsule. She hides him like in his cupcakes and stuff, so when he takes him to school, so he eats a cupcake, and it's like, oh hey, there's my blood capsule for the day. It's really clever. Um, he's just trying to figure out like who these other vampires are in the city, and he has a teacher who is being really suspicious. Otis. And Vladimir can't figure out what it is. Like, what's up with Otis and Otis. I think it's really cool. When the 5th book came out, I was so excited. I was up in the Yellowstone, living there at the time. And so I went to the other bookstore that I didn't work at to order it because our bookstore didn't order those kinds of books. And they got it a couple days early, and they called me and like, hey, your book's in and everything. And it was like, oh, hey, my book's in 2 days early. So I finished the book in a day, and I'm sure other people had this opportunity too, but I read it before a lot of other people did, and it was really great. It ended unexpectedly. They had huge plot twists at the end. It was really great. Love all 5 of the books. She also has a branch off series of the Slayer Chronicles that revolves around Joss, who is a vampire slayer that Vladimir becomes friends with. And so those are really interesting too. She only has 2 of those out, but they're good. Of course, I love The Hunger Games. All 3 of these books are just, I love them so much. I saw The Hunger Games, I think, 7 times in theaters because I was just so enthralled by it, and I can't wait for Catching Fire. They've come out with the trailers, and I'm so excited. Can't wait to see that. I think they did really well casting on it, and I love Suzanne Collins and how she wrote this story. And when people were first telling me about The Hunger Games, like, oh, you should read The Hunger Games and stuff, and it was like, everyone was like, Team Gale, Team PETA, and I like how Suzanne Collins, it's not a love story. There's the love story kind of put in the background of it, but it's about rebellion. It's about kids growing up in war, kind of like Harry Potter. Like, Harry Potter doesn't emphasize the love stories in it either. Hell, you don't even know that Ron and Hermione are madly in love with each other really until the 7th book, when they finally are like, oh my gosh, we just killed one of the Horcruxes, let's kiss, kind of thing, but she still just does it so well to where you know what's important in the book. You know that the uprising and the citizens in the book are more important than Team PETA or Team Gale. Although I will admit I'm Team PETA. I love PETA. PETA's Pie to Pound is best. Real. So I have a couple other books that aren't really part of the young adult genre. Although I know a lot of young adults who've read them. Whatever. Water for Elephants is a really amazing book. It was very different. It was one of those books that it was so historically accurate at the same time of being so adventurous and so different that it really opened my eyes to a lot of writing stuff. I really liked how she switched back and forth between present time and past time with this old man thinking back on his life in the circus. This book affected me and was so well written that I had dreams about being in the circus for weeks after finishing it because it was just so great. I really, really suggest reading this book. If you don't like young adult books, this is not necessarily a young adult book. So go find this book and read it. The movie's pretty good, but the movie is a lot. It's a little cheesier. It's not as, obviously not as well written because it's not the book. It's really great though, you should read it. The last book I have on my list for today is this one, and I just barely read it, is Gray by Pete Wentz. He is the bass player for Fall Out Boy. I was really excited for when he was saying that he was writing a book because it was like, oh, Fall Out Boy. Obviously from yesterday, you know I love Fall Out Boy. And when I was reading it, at first I had a really hard time figuring out what was fact and what was fiction of what he was writing about, because he is loosely basing it off of his own life of touring with a band. And one of the reasons I really love it is he does not focus at all on the music aspect of it. It's just everything else. It's like going to the show and then after the show and everything that happens at the after party and getting addicted to things that aren't healthy and the life of a celebrity and how hard it is. And he did a really good job of it. In the entire book, he never once mentions the name of the main character or the main character's girlfriend. And I, it really only hit me until like, when I was 3/4 of the way through the book, and it was like, I don't know her name. I don't know his name. They're just him. They're just I and her. He refers to her as her all the time. You never know her name. He calls other people by names, like there's the animal, and there's Martin, who is his lead singer, who is loosely based off Patrick, and all these other people, and you know all of their names, but you never know his name, and you never know her name. And I really thought that was such a unique writing style, and I'd love to mimic it someday because it's just it's so well written. And this book almost made me cry because it just touched me in a lot of ways, and it was really well written. I suggest reading it to people who like. It's very real. It's another one of those books that just made me feel human, and I connected to it in a lot of ways. There's just a lot of other books I love reading. I have a huge summer reading list of about like 20 books to read. I'm not a very fast reader. I wish I was faster at reading. If I was as fast at reading as I was at writing a novel, that would be great. I've written novels in like 2 weeks. Sometimes I can't read a book in like 3 months. I'm just such a terribly slow reader. I really like this book, Anna and the French Kiss. It has the most cliche cover and cliche title ever, I think, but it's really well written, really great. David Levithan, who co-authored Nick and Nora's Playlist and Dash and Lily's Book of Dares, is a really good writer. I really enjoy his stuff. He wrote this book, Every You, Every Me, and it takes you really for a spin, and it throws you so off guard, and you don't know what's going on. You don't know who to trust in the book. You don't know even if you can trust the first person author, and it's just the style of it, there's pictures all over in it. He writes stuff and then he crosses it out, so it's like you're reading the guy's internal thoughts and what he's trying to censor in the story that the main character's telling. That's really great. There's just a lot of books. I love books. And so that's what this whole video blog has been about, obviously. So, day 4, favorite books. Thanks.